Opening statement, Garrett Chernoff's birthday, our general manager today, so happy birthday to Garrett. Other than that, open up for questions.
PJ, what are your first impressions on the Colorado Buffaloes?
They're really good. Very physical on defense, really good tacklers. Their linebacking core is really talented. They love to play football, you can tell. They keep everything in front of them. On the offensive side of the ball, they got two really good backs. They're physical. They got a young quarterback that can run around and create, as well as throw the football down the field. But you can tell they really like to play football, and they like playing for each other. They're a connected football team, really good football team, and you can see that come off on the film. So, again, I've only watched, as of yesterday and then early this morning, but that's the first impressions you get from watching them from this year. We did a lot of off-season studies and things like that, but from watching their first two games, that's what jumps out at you, and it's very clear. Very physical team, very good football team.
What do you need to see from your other running backs in practice to have them earn more carries to help Trey Potts?
Yeah, just consistency. And we're gonna throw more guys into the mix. So, this is how you're able to find some guys as you keep going forward, right? And there'll be some more guys into the mix as we keep going forward, but it's just consistency on a daily basis. Being the best version of yourself. You're not gonna be Mohammed. You're not gonna replace that. But again, you've got to find a way to be the best version of you, and earn the trust to be able to get more carries and go on from there. So I thought Trey did a really good job in the game. I thought he had a really good game. But again, we need some more guys to step in and play well to take some of those carries off of him and rotate some guys, which we will as we keep going forward.
What were your overall impressions of MJ Anderson's performance when you got in there?
I think MJ's getting better. I think MJ's maturing. He's still a young player, but I think that when MJ lets it rip, he's really, really talented. I think sometimes when he thinks a little too much, he's a little inconsistent here and there, but that's probably expected from a young man that's in the beginning stages of his playing career. But he's got all the tools. I mean, he's got length, he's got size, he's got speed, he's got power, and the more he plays, the better he's going to get. And we've got to continue to look at what we're doing and how we're doing it, and get him some more playing time, maybe some different roles. But he's going to be a really good player here. He just got to keep being more consistent on a daily basis, and I know he will. He's working at it.
PJ, when it comes to the 4-game redshirt rule, is your approach to that changed on a yearly basis, just kind of based on where the roster is and what everything is?
It definitely has, and I think the redshirt rule has definitely changed. Not only for in your own mind as a head coach, right? Is one, because of the transfer portal, right, and two, because we're having guys leave earlier than normal. So the COVID year didn't count, but it counted towards them going to the National Football League. So we were having this conversation earlier. J.J. Gaudet, who's one of our up and coming linemen, seems like he's been here 4 years. He's still a freshman. But he's really not a freshman. But if anybody could benefit from that, it's him. So it's really hard to manage harder. I shouldn't say hard. It's harder when you're managing your roster. And this is a discussion, I think, nationally in the offseason was, roster management's become way more difficult. And that's where that cap of 25 comes into play. That's being addressed and looked at on whether that should be lifted and gone to a higher number, because we said this 2 years ago when COVID hit, and then we found out that it was going to be a free year, that there's going to be teams that lose, almost half their roster maybe in a year. That could possibly happen. And then what? So the way we're handling redshirt years is, if it's needed, we're going to play them. If it's just a luxury, we'll spot play them. But we got to get people ready too. Darius Green's a great example right now. Darius Green, I think, is going to be a really good player here. He's a true freshman. But I'd love to redshirt him. But depending on how all that works and what happens next year and who leaves, who stays, you got to get ready now to be able to have that experience even for next year. So a lot of times you're just planning on just this year, get through this year, all right, and then we're going to say this guy's going to redshirt, these guys are going to play. We want to play these guys in 4, but the roster management part of that, of who's leaving, who's staying, and the fluidity of that is very different this year than it normally has been. So I think it's harder to do that than it's ever been. But, if we got guys that can play, we're going to play them.
PJ, when you watch the film, were your corners on those touchdown plays in position, just didn't make a play?
Yeah, I think they threw 11 passes like that down the field, and it just happened they caught 3 of them, and they were really good catches. Really good catches. They're contested. They're in really good positions. They just made the play. And that you got to give them credit. You got to give them credit for making those plays. But if you look at the other, 8, we're in the position and they don't make the play, and we're in the same position. It wasn't anybody caught the ball down the field that was wide open, right? These were well contested balls that people won. Now, what do we have to get better at is the fundamentals and technique within that last moment of us making a play on the ball instead of them making play on the ball. How we lean locate better, right? Where do our eyes go and when did our eyes go there, right? Our hand positioning, forcing a DB or a wide out to get wider naturally with just the lean and locate technique. We did that really well at times, and then we didn't do it well at times. We played the back shoulder well at times, and sometimes we didn't play the back shoulder well at times. But we were in the position, which forced them to be able to have, a really good throw. And I thought that, number 5 did a really good job of putting the ball where it needed to be on those plays, and number 10. So, but you give them credit because that's how they attacked us. And for the first half, when they didn't complete them, we were in the right position, had the right technique, and were able to make a play on the ball. They didn't complete them. But when you look at it, that's kind of been the story just of our defense lately. It's just been, you look at Ohio State, there was 5 or 6 plays. Now, those were massive 5 or 6 plays. These were about 3 plays. Now, they were costly 3 plays. But the best thing about that is you can learn from that. And you truly grow from those moments. And again, this team's been tested. It's been tested with injury, right? It's been tested with, being down and coming back, being up, losing the lead. It's been a team come back on us and cut it to 1 point with a big lead and then having to respond from that. Those are things, you learn from. And I gave you guys the example of what Kobe Bryant used to say that I shared with our team in the offseason and in season. It's not that fear of failure or just wanting to win. It's the you play to learn. And these guys were learning. And we came out 1-1 in 2 games. We're back to 0-0, 1-game championship season against Colorado. You got to take all the things you learned in games 1 and 2 and apply them. And that's what we're doing our best to make sure that we do.
PJ, how was the first road game of the season? Just the experience for your players different than the other road games of the season?
I think that's a lot for everyone on the outside to talk about. It doesn't matter where you play. Okay, parking lots. In an indoor, home, away. The New Orleans Saints got uplifted out of their natural setting and going to Jacksonville, and they just blew out the Packers 38-3. You can't allow the circumstances to dictate your behavior. If you're going to be a really good football team, you got to win every week, no matter where you play. And, that's what we've taught our team as long as I've been a head football coach. That's not necessarily an advantage or a disadvantage. You have to be ready to play anywhere. So for us, we train them of what we're going to be able to do on the road. Part of what we do in preseason camp is we play in a lot of different environments. We go to the Minnesota Vikings facility to give them a change, and we talk to them before that and saying, this is like going on a road trip. Right? We're going to go practice somewhere else. Practice in our indoor. We go outside. We go to the stadium. We constantly change the environment for our players so they don't have the same all the time, which is the best way you can simulate something like that in the offseason and in preseason camp to train them to know that, if you're going to win, you got to win no matter where you play, and that's with all due respect to everywhere we play and even our home games. But we've got a job to do for 60 minutes, and that shouldn't dictate how well we play.
You talked about on Saturday about needing mental toughness from your wide receivers. What does that look like? What does that mean?
Well, I think that, I think that consistency has a lot to do with being mentally tough. I think people think football is all physical toughness and just, hitting each other, and it's a very violent game, but there's a decision to be made to do that, right? Your mind's got to tell your body what to do, right? And there's decisions for that. And I'm talking about just overcoming adversity, next play mentality, being able to not flush the last play and forget about it, learn from it immediately, and then move on. I'm not about ignoring what happened. I've never been about that. This is about a learning experience. The minute that play is over, what I learn, what I gather, boom, Got it. Next play. Let's go. That's what we have. That's with young players in general and inexperienced players in general. And the faster they can get better at that, the better they're going to be. And for our wide receiving core, especially with Crab being out and the most experienced wideout we have being out, you have two, three, four inexperienced wide receivers. The one thing you always worry about is that mental toughness or that mental response. And that's what it is, being able to respond to every situation that comes your way in a positive way, in a learning way. Very difficult to do. We all struggle with that every single day. But that's mental toughness to me, is that response mechanism, no matter what happens, to learn from it, embrace it, then move on. Not forget about it and ignore it and flush it, right? It's learn it, move on, next play, I got it, I learned from that play, I'm going to be better next play. Very difficult to do. That's what I meant by that.
Is there anything specific you do to prepare a team for Planet Elevation?
Yeah, you do a lot of research. They've got signs in their stadium, and our director of football operations took all the pictures of that. We showed our players, what they have, and you're 5,000 feet up, and all these signs and all these numbers, and they do a good job of branding that, of how high you are. But we've had numerous doctors and medical members come in and talk to us a little bit about how we should travel. We're going to be there as shortest amount of time as possible. And your body, the longer you're there, the more it's going to affect you. So if we can get in and get out, it shouldn't affect us very much at all. We're going to prepare how we prepare. We're going to prepare in practice how we normally do. We have some other things that, Dr. Howell, who's a professor on campus, has really helped us with our sleep habits. We've been really into the sleep study the last few years. Not only that, getting other professors and getting other people involved with, elevation, what it means, how to travel that way, what it does to your body, how long does it start, when does it start taking effect. So we've researched a lot of that in the off season and prepared for this week. And they're small little changes, not much though, based on the information and the data that we received back from the experts.
PJ, how's Ottman Bell doing, and do you expect him to play against Colorado?
He's doing tremendous, and I know you guys probably go, wow, I've been told day to day. And he practiced last night, looked great. So whether he plays Saturday or not, that's still not up to me. But he looks great, and I'm really proud of him for the progress he's made and how hard he's worked. And not only that, him focusing on him coming back, but how much better he's made our football team and kept that leadership role is really positive and says a lot about him as a teammate.
PJ, would you like to see the ejection part taken out of targeting? And if they did that, do you think that would make it called more consistently? That affects the way it's called?
Chip, I think this is kind of it's a great question, right? And I think it's more of an off-season discussion. It's hard to have those discussions in season because whatever the discussion is, it's not changing today, right? I do think, targeting is a major topic that's going on in the NFL, collegiate football. The safety of the student athletes and the players has to be the first thing we all talk about, first and foremost. But how it's enforced, I think everybody wants to be able to maybe dissect it and look at it a little bit more. But I think that's more for the off season right now. We're going so fast not to worry about that. We just have to be able to adapt to the rules right now, know the rules, and be able to keep teaching the right things.
How would you evaluate the defensive line through the first 2 weeks?
I think we're getting better. Are we where I think we can be? No. We just have to be more consistent. I think as a team, we just have to be more consistent. I see a lot of really special things on film that jump out at you that I'm like, wow, we haven't had that in a long time. But then there's a lot of bodies playing, and the more bodies you play, it's okay. Are we getting the same and the most consistency out of all of them, or is it a little inconsistent? And the more people you bring into that mix, the less consistent it gets, right? And we need to make sure it gets more consistent with more people we put into the mix. But I think that's what everybody's learning. We're very transparent. We're growing. We need to get better. They know we need to get better as a team. And they're excited for growth. Last night I love Sunday night football, what we do on Sunday nights. It's so fun, and the players have such a good time doing it. But that's a huge time for growth and development for our football team. Take exactly what just happened on Saturday, apply it into Sunday's practice, right, and immediately get better at it and address it and be transparent. One thing I like about this team is they're open to growth. I said at the beginning, this team's really fun to coach because they allow you to coach them. There's some teams that, maybe they think they have it figured out or, they're set in their ways or whatever it is. This team loves to be coached. That's what I meant by saying this is a really fun team to coach, because you get to coach them and they want to be coached and they want to grow. They want to learn. They want to get better collectively and individually. That's what's fun about coaching.
Does Trickett's range get extended in the higher altitude?
Well, he's doing a pretty good job of where he's at right now, and we'll see. It's all that stuff. That we make sure. Rob Wanger does a great job, and I've said that from day one. I think he's really, really good at what he does. We have a discussion right before kickoff exactly where the lines are, where we are. There's always those lines on TV that say this is the kicker's range. I mean, sometimes I'm not sure where everybody gets those, because I make that decision right before the game. Right before kickoff, because I meet with our special teams coordinator. We go through what we're going to do after the coin flip. That's when we come in after, warming up. So it's made within those decisions of where's the range, where do we feel comfortable, how was he in warm-ups? Because warm-ups is everything. It's not just what he did in practice. It's the conditions that are presented at game time. It's into the wind, with the wind, from the right hash, from the left hash. Where was he? How consistent was he? What did he look like? Was there anything that looked, encouraging even more or discouraging? So those decisions are made right before kickoff. But one thing I love about him is he's very mature. He's played in a lot of big games. He's kicked in a lot of games, made a lot of big field goals, and he's going to continue to change his best. He's incredibly humble. He gets better every single day. He's a great teammate. And that's what I love about that whole room is they want everybody around them to be better. And they want to grow. They want to be coached. They're also football players that are specialists. They're not just specialists. Our room is really fun because they are football players first. And then they happen to be specialists, which sometimes you don't have that.
The first drive of the second half, you guys went 3 and out, 3 passes. After that, 3 passes the rest of the game. What's the conversation with Sanford about gameplay and how you guys want to present things going forward there?
Well, I think it's just about what presents itself to us and what the defense is doing. I mean, you look towards the end of the second half, that box was pretty stacked, right? And so we wanted to be able to soften the box a little bit, and we just didn't execute. We fall down on one of the routes, and it's open. I mean, it's wide open, but we fall down on one of the routes. We get another drop in one of the other ones. I mean, you got to execute. So we complete those balls, you don't ask that question. You know what I mean? And in all fairness, right? And we have to execute. So if we execute that, the execution in general all around just got to be better. But that's what I meant from the other part. We got to be mentally tough, and we've got to respond better, and we got to execute better, and especially at the wide receiver position. And I know we'll respond to certain things, and they want to continue to grow and learn. So I know they will.
One more, Dave.
Go ahead, Dave.
Sunday nights, what have you done over the years to make those more fun?
Yeah, I think we talked about this last night, Dave. It's kind of cool that you actually said that, this word fun. This is the word fun has been taken out of a lot of things for a lot of reasons. This is still a game, right? You all have a job to do. I have a job to do, right? There's a business side of it, but the actual purity of playing the game should be really fun. And these young people deal with a lot mentally, emotionally, physically in 2021 that maybe we didn't deal with 10 years ago, but they deal with it now. And our entire program handles that. Our entire program is proactive with that, academically, athletically, socially, spiritually. Remember, we talked about this life program. So when we get to Sunday nights, Matt Childers is the best video director in the country. He wears so many hats. He is a great story one day if you ever interview that guy. I don't think anybody's written an article out here on that guy. You should write an article on that guy. He'll tell you what he does, and it's not even close to what a video director probably does everywhere else. He wears a lot of hats. He's been with me from day one. It's hilarious. But anyway, we got the Sunday night football music out there. It's under the lights, right? We get the young guys out there scrimmaging. So they get their game on Sunday night. So whoever played in Saturday night's game doesn't play in Sunday night's game. But we have a Sunday night game. It's how we develop our younger players, and they cannot wait to play. We do a bunch of individual. We do a lot of corrections. We do a lot of walkthroughs from what happened. We introduce the next opponent already with some basic stuff that we know they're going to do, some basic fronts, maybe some basic blitzes, basic style of offense, defense, some special teams. It's a very short practice. We're only out there about 35, 40 minutes when it's all said and done. Even the scrimmage is pretty quick. 20 to 30 plays. But we get a lot of those young guys out there. And last night, it was back and forth. And, the guys who played in Saturday night are watching it. and they're getting after it. Sometimes I let, Mariano Sori-Marin call the defense and Tanner call the offense. And then sometimes I let, last night Paul Haynes called the defense and Clay Patterson called the offense. And it allows my coaches to be able to keep developing, gives them the ability to be coordinators, expands the role that they all have. And not only that, it develops your program from the floor up. And this is what that's what developmental programs do. And that's the way they get a chance to be able to go play, put stuff on film, show us what the future entails. That affects then recruiting. It affects your depth. It allows you to know who's going to be ready to play towards the end of the year. It affects the redshirt decisions. That's why it's so fun to me. And then we have a bunch of pizza in the locker room afterwards, win or lose. We're able to kind of put it all behind us, watch a little, NFL football with all the TVs in our locker room, bring it together, camaraderie. I mean, last night I think I had a donut for breakfast. I had McDonald's Big Mac and 10 chicken nuggets for lunch, and then some pizza luce or some pizza at night. So, but that's the Sunday cheat. So maybe that's why I think Sunday's so fun, because I cheat and I get to eat all that wonderful food. So, but anyway, that's Sunday for you. You got everybody row the boat, Sky Mago Gophers. Thanks. I don't know if I can say that.